I'm joined by Kwame Anane-Crane. He's a development consultant and an environmentalist, and he's going to be talking to us about that. Good morning, Kwame.
Hello, good morning.
How are you doing?
Very good.
But before we talk about the plastics, I mean, there's been a talk also about plastics in terms of what the fishermen do, or if we're not careful, what they'll be fishing very soon. And so I want you to wade into what you think about the fishermen, the ban, and maybe how the plastic also affects them.
Actually, it's a very interesting topic because I went to Jamestown yesterday. I was talking to some of the fishermen. Politically, of course, you know what's happening. Right. I'm not interested in that bit. But the truth is that fishermen are actually catching plastics. So can you imagine, you know, when they go fishing, they go very early, like at night and overnight, whilst all of us are sleeping. These guys are trying to catch some fish, and they're catching our plastics. Government policy is that they want the fish to restock. That is why they don't want them to fish in August. They are saying there's Homoa Festival in August, and it comes with fishing. So, of course, I'm going to leave that one to government and the fishermen.
Very well. But concerning, this is very worrying, because if our fishermen are catching plastics instead of fish, then we have a big issue there. But in general, what is the outlook on waste management in Ghana and to a broader extent in Africa? Do we as Ghanaians understand what it means to manage waste, and are we doing it right?
I think we do. Because if you go back to our villages are quite clean. Compared to our cities. It means all of us come from these places. We know fundamentally how to be clean, you see. Waste is not bad. It was part of the natural cycle, that our waste get the soil better, and then we get better food. And the question is the kind of waste we're now making. We're producing very, very bad waste because we think we're advancing. But this is our land. We have to think about it. I'm not here to talk about policy or what we are not doing. I'm here to talk about what we can do, simple things from today, to at least reduce it by 10% or 5% or 1%. Something has to be done. Otherwise, nobody's going to do it for us.
So the solutions you intend are going to proffer things that we can do as individuals and not necessarily on a large scale to help reduce waste. So can you give us those suggestions?
I mean, for example, I was talking to you earlier, and you say that you keep your plastics. A lady comes to pick them up and is taken to a place where artisans reuse them. That's a really good example of recycle or even reuse. Now, those of us who think we are very smart or educated, how much plastic do we use in a day? So from the time you wake up this morning and at the time you actually sleep, how many plastic bottles or how many plastic bags are you actually using? We buy the simplest things, already packaged in plastic, and we want them to be put in plastic again. So what we're saying is, from today, Nana, I want you to help me do this.
I will.
And our viewers as well. When you go to your restaurant today, or wherever you go, and you buy a drink, and they offer you a plastic straw, please, refuse it. I know this sounds very leftist idea, but that plastic straw, either you reuse the plastic straw, you keep it in your bag and use it again. Because you see, that straw, for you means nothing. You just use it to suck something for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but it will stay in our environment. The fish we are eating, we all like tilapia, we all like our fish. They are eating these plastics. And when they eat the plastics, their system thinks they are full, so they don't eat anymore. So the fish are dying. That is why the fishermen are not catching enough fish for us. We're importing our fish because locally we don't have enough stock. This is a case of our land. I know we can blame government policy. We can blame lack of recycling. The question is that what are we doing ourselves? So that's the first thing I want us to focus on. Secondly, the amount of plastics we are taking. So for example, if you go and buy cocoa this morning, maybe you want kose, maybe you want some bread. Look at what the lady is going to do for you. 1 bag for kose, 1 bag for cocoa, all together in a big black bag that is given to you. You drink that stuff, and what happens to those bags? In the bin. Somebody might clean them up, but where do they go? Our gutters are choked. Our kids are sick. We are not as healthy as we used to be. You remember when we were much younger? We go to the same place to buy things, and we took our own bowls. I know that things have evolved a bit, but we have to be aware of our nation. And what we can do to protect this land that we came to see. Our kids are coming. I know I think you're into medical stuff as well. You can imagine what we're talking about here. It's a serious thing. And thirdly, most of us are slightly older now, so maybe it's going to be difficult for us to change our ways. But what about younger people, our schools? This environmental idea of being green, looking after what we have, Because you know, even God has a mandate that we should look after the land.
Anyway, but I'm sure, I mean, this discussion about waste management has been going on for long, and one of the issues is the fact that people who produce them or actually bring them into the country are still doing so. And so you talk about the straw, and I'm thinking it sounds very nice to want to use the straw once and keep it subsequently, but also you're running someone out of business. Unfortunately, that seems to be where the conversation has gone to. So what's your take on that?
So when it comes to that bigger picture stuff, if I make a decision, we are the customers of these products. If we say, listen, either you give us a greener version of this straw, we don't want you to go out of business. Give us a better version that allows the land to be what it should be. But you see, these are huge government policies. These people are, you know, contributors to government in different ways. So, of course, we have to coexist. At the same time, we have to do what is right for us and the environment and our future.
As an environmentalist, what are some of the things you've heard in other countries that seem to have worked and bringing to our context can equally work for us, apart from the few you've already suggested?
Now, recycling is a key thing. I mean, you see most people in different countries, you have different bins for different things. You have bins for plastic, bins for paper. Most of us don't have that discipline yet, but I think we can get it. I'm not interested in what we cannot do. I think we should focus on what we can do.
Very well.
And also, there's a bigger picture stuff of banning plastic. We can talk about Rwanda being able to do that. But we're in a democracy here, and think about it. There's an election to be won in 4 or 2 years' time. So who are you alienating? But that's why we should forget for the time being about the bigger stuff and think of me and my household. You yourself, what are you able to do? So just very quickly, Nama, things like their plastic use. How many times are you demanding plastic? Please reuse your own bowls. Take your bowls to buy stuff the way we used to do them. If you like wache or you like rice, go to the old school version. The leaves are good if they're cleaned properly. They just go into the environment and it's good for us. Because you know what? I just drove over the bridge in Circle. And if you look at the dot, you know what we're talking about. It's full of plastic and they are floating on the substance, on the surface of this water. We can't do anything about it. So we should start doing something today.
Anyway, so what can I do to start seeing the change I want to see? And why are you driving this campaign so hard at this particular point in time?
Because I think we all think somebody else has to do it. But this belongs to all of us. This place is ours. I'm not here as a minister of state, or I'm not the town council or whatever boss, and I'm shaking everybody down. I'm just a human being who sees what happens every day in this town, the same way you do. And there are people who already do what I'm saying we should do. I'm here to encourage them to keep doing it. For those who have never thought about it before, I'm here to say these are practical, easy things that we can start doing. Not for ourselves alone, but for our children.
Certainly for our children yet unborn. And I have been speaking to Kwame Ananikrane. He's a development consultant and an environmentalist, and he's driving the campaign for us to go green and at least try to recycle or reuse the plastic you have, because indeed we are generating a lot and we don't seem to know where it's going, except of course floating on top of the Odor River. We don't want that to continue, so help brighten the corner where you are. We'll take a break. We have more throwback music for you as we go on this break.
Order.